Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.
And protesters take to the streets across Italy to rally against the health pass system. Italians will be required to show their health pass to enter all workplaces starting this Friday. There are fears that this will impact the labor market. Here's more.
Starting Friday, every worker in Italy must show proof of vaccination or a negative virus test from within 48 hours, or show recent recovery from the virus. And it doesn't matter if they are in the private or the public sector. Anyone who fails to present a green pass will be suspended with no pay.
I'm obliged to. In one way or another, they're making you do it, even if you don't want to.
Residents against the measure took to the streets over the weekend and on Monday in cities across Italy. And in Rome, some of the protesters clashed with riot police. On Sunday, police arrested 12 people in relation to the protests, including leaders of a right-wing political party said to be behind the protests. The pass is already required to enter places like restaurants, gyms, and museums, or to travel on trains and airplanes.
I've just left the restaurant, so it's clear that I have had to have it.
I had to do it for work and for my kids' sport, and that's what I thought about it.
An internal government document estimates that some 15% of private sector employees do not have a green pass, along with around 8% of public sector workers. Fears are growing that the green pass measure will cause staff shortages and disruptions for firms and public services. Some politicians, trade unions, and businesses say the mandatory green pass risks backfiring.
And a former Facebook employee blew the whistle on the tech giant regarding its handling of misinformation. The whistleblower now says she's willing to testify before Congress. Here's NTD's David Lamb with the details.
Former Facebook employee Sophie Zhang went public with her criticisms of the company back in April 2021. She told CNN in an interview that she's willing to testify before Congress.
Zhang worked as a data scientist, but Facebook fired her in 2020. She criticized the tech giant for not doing enough to tackle hate and misinformation, particularly in small developing countries.
And the fact that multiple national governments and presidents felt the need to exploit Facebook on vast scales to manipulate their own citizenry without even trying to hide, that speaks volumes about how important they believed it to be, how important it actually is.
In a Twitter post on Monday, Zhang wrote, "If Congress wishes for me to testify, I will fulfill my civic duty, as I've publicly stated for the past half year." She also said she provided detailed documentation regarding potential criminal violations to a U.S. law enforcement agency, though she did not specify which agency. When Zhang blew the whistle last year, Facebook executive Guy Rosen wrote on Twitter claiming that Zhang's allegations are about fake likes.
They briefed him on this matter, and he knew perfectly well that it was not just fake likes. In fact, Facebook did 2 thorough investigations and takedowns that received media attention based on my work.
Speaking to CNN, Zhang said Facebook told her that she was fired for poor performance. Before leaving the company, she published a memo on her personal website detailing how she personally made decisions to influence world politics as part of her job. However, her website, along with the memo, was subsequently shut down. Zhang declined Facebook's $64,000 offer for a non-disparagement agreement.
Zhang is the second Facebook whistleblower. The first was Frances Haugen, who testified before Congress on October 5th. Haugen spoke about children's safety on Facebook and Instagram. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Healthcare workers in Chicago held a rally against COVID vaccine mandates as the October 31st deadline approaches. Some say the vaccine is not effective, while others cite individual choice or religious exemption.
A group of current, retired, and family members of employees held a medical freedom rally outside Evanston Hospital in the Chicago suburbs on October 12th. The staff work for several hospitals of the North Shore University Health System. Catherine Pagan-Roman, a registered nurse at Swedish Hospital, a part of North Shore, organized the rally.
There's so many of us who do not agree with the mandates, and we all deserve a choice. the vaccine is, it doesn't prevent transmission. The CDC director herself, Rochelle, she actually stated back in August that it does nothing to prevent transmission. And so what is the point of us being forced to take it? So I organized the protest so that we could all, stand up for our rights and our freedoms. And, we deserve the right to choose what goes in our body.
I'm here because I've been with the company for 10 years. They've invested in me, I've invested in them, and I just believe that what they're doing with this vaccine mandate is wrong, that it's going to ruin people's lives, it's going to ruin people's jobs.
Other employees say the vaccine mandate violates their religious beliefs.
I also don't believe that I should have to take a vaccine. It's against my religious beliefs. We've all applied for exemptions. And so far, my first application for exemption has been denied, and I have appealed, and I'm waiting for the appeal. After that, there probably will be a lawsuit.
David Hurst, veteran litigation and civil rights attorney, is currently representing 10 to 12 North Shore employees in their appeal process.
Well, it's our contention that the vaccine mandates are against Illinois law and against Title VII restrictions when the applicants, aren't allowed religious exemptions.
I would hope that the community that believes that by firing over 1,200 people because we're not vaccinated, that they're going to lose out on the proper health care.
If the appeal is not successful, 1,000 North Shore employees could face job termination by December.
In line with inflation, anyone on Social Security is about to see more cash each month. Monthly checks will jump by almost 6% next year. That's the biggest hike in 40 years. It's an extra $92. An advocacy group found even with the increases, benefits have lost 32% of their purchasing power since 2000. It says payments have increased by 55%, but expenses have grown by 105% over that same time period. And if you're on Medicare Part B, your premium could be going up 6.7% next year. Those premiums are typically deducted from Social Security checks. For months, Parisians have been complaining about the rundown state of their city. They say the streets are covered with trash and graffiti. And historic street furniture that's part of the city's heritage is poorly maintained and even being ruined instead of restored. NTD's David Vives has more from Paris.
For several months, the hashtag Saccage Paris, meaning trashed Paris, has been trending on Twitter. Parisians are posting pictures of graffiti, trash, or broken street furniture. Many say the city's socialist leadership is to blame. Last weekend, a protest in front of the Paris town hall denounced the trashing of the capital.
We want to know why the Paris of our parents and grandparents is disappearing. We want to know why the Paris we've known as children is disappearing, and why we live in a disfigured city that has no soul.
According to a survey from the French Institute of Public Opinion, 84% of Parisians think their city is dirty, and 40% find it very dirty. The movement is about preventing the city's heritage from falling into disrepair or being destroyed. Marina Yaloyan created an association called Save Our Paris 6 months ago. The group now has 22,000 members. The main issue for her is the gradual destruction of old street furniture.
And people disagree, because we have amazing heritage that needs to be preserved, that the entire world is jealous of. And what we see it completely, the complete destruction, and we don't see it well preserved, we don't see it clean.
You don't need to go far from City Hall to find telling examples.
In Paris, we have beautiful 18th century benches. And see what we got here? This bench seems to come out of a bunker from old communist Russia. We encourage people to sue the city's mayor. It seems that's the only way to stop this folly.
Another example is on the island of St. Louis in the Seine River. These stones are covered with graffiti. Instead of cleaning it, the mayor chose to paint the 1,000-year-old stones gray. Mayor Anne Hidalgo, a member of the Socialist Party, says far-right extremists are behind the protests, but there's no clear evidence to support that claim. She did admit back in April that the city's cleaning teams were short-staffed due to the pandemic. Meanwhile, many new buildings are being constructed in Paris as city officials prepare for the 2024 Olympic Games, which is set to take place in the French capital. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Jewish leaders and heads of state are urging social media companies to do more to combat anti-Semitism. They met at a conference on Holocaust remembrance in Sweden. And a recent report found that millions of young people are introduced to anti-Semitism on platforms like TikTok. NTD's Natalia Nutting tells us more.
A Holocaust conference on Wednesday in Sweden focused on how social media contributes to anti-Semitism.
There is a dangerous rise of anti-Semitism all over the world, including Europe, everywhere, mainly because of the new social media. They are doing a good job in inciting and increasing the level of hate, and they have to take responsibility for that, not to remain so-called neutral or objective.
The one-day International Forum on Holocaust Remembrance took place in Malmö. Several heads of state attended, some remotely. A new report by campaign group Hope Not Hate found that anti-Semitic content on social media spiked during the pandemic, and that millions of young people are introduced to anti-Semitism they are unlikely to encounter elsewhere.
We see today in social media, in TikTok, Facebook, Google, all the others, are hatred. But it's very clever hatred. It's not just anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is looked on in a different way as anti-Israel. And why Israel? Because it's an easier target.
Lauder called on children to be better educated. According to a 2020 poll, a quarter of millennials in France said they had never heard of the term Holocaust. Israel's president says social media companies need to do more to remove anti-Semitic material. Sweden's prime minister says the hatred of Jews is prevalent everywhere.
It is present in extreme right-wing groups, in parts of the left, in Islamist environments, and among ordinary citizens. We see anti-Semitism among adults and children who have fled to Europe from countries where hatred of Jews is promoted in schools and through state propaganda.
During the forum, the U.S. Secretary of State announced a $1 million program to counter anti-Semitic hate speech online in the Middle East and North Africa. Natalia Nutting, NTD News.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to catch all of our programs on TV. NTD Evening News is on every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Find your local NTD channel at ntd.com/TV.